Hi there, thanks for coming to the Right Law Group YouTube page. I want to touch on a couple different things in today's video about different types of DUIs. A lot of people are confused because the DUIs here, or the DUI laws here in Colorado, changed around 2014. So I want to touch on the different types of DUIs that you can get and kind of explain what each of those means. So when you're looking at DUIs, there are two levels now in Colorado. There are the misdemeanor DUIs and then there's felony level DUIs. For a misdemeanor DUI, that can be anything from you actually having alcohol or THC, so marijuana in your system. You can even get a DUI for having prescribed medication. So a lot of people think, hey, if I'm taking my prescriptions, even if you're taking them the way you're supposed to be, you can't get a DUI. The problem is that's not completely true. A lot of these medications, so let's take Ambien for example. Ambien is, I'm sure a lot of you have heard, people take Ambien and then they'll wind up downstairs raiding the kitchen fridge, eating a whole bunch of stuff and not remembering it. That's one of the dangers with Ambien, is it's one of those more powerful prescription medications. So I've had clients who have actually come and been charged with DUI for having an Ambien in their system, even though it's a prescribed medication, even though we show that they are allowed to have that in their bloodstream, it means that you can still be impaired. So I want to talk to you first about the different ways that the DAs have to prove DUIs, because there's two different levels in the misdemeanor realm. So first you have DUI, which is driving under the influence. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the .08 standard. What that is there's a presumption in the state of Colorado that if your BAC or your blood alcohol content is at .08 or above, then you're driving under the influence of alcohol. The common misconception, though, is people think, well, if I'm under that .08, then I'm fine. For the DUI, you are. But the problem is in Colorado, we also have what's called a DWAI. That's driving while ability impaired. For DWAI, it's not where you're driving so that you're so impaired that you can't maybe function or get home to the level that you are at a DUI. But driving while ability impaired means that you're impaired to the slightest degree. And that's still a crime here in Colorado. So driving with any kind of impairment whatsoever is not a great idea. Let's just put that out there. But legally, if you are at a .05 to a .08, you can be criminally charged for driving while ability impaired. So when you're looking at DUIs, you've got the alcohol side of it. So in the misdemeanor world, you have driving while under the influence, which is the DUI, is that .08 or above. And then you have DWAI, which is driving while ability impaired, which is .05 to .08. Now then the question comes, well, what about weed? It's legal here in Colorado. There's a presumption that the law allows now for the DAs to use, and they have a presumptive 5 nanograms of THC in your bloodstream, at which they equivocate that or make it equivalent to the .08. Now the .08 in alcohol terms has been proven, it's scientifically studied, that is a definitive hard line. The presumption for THC of 5 nanograms in your system is a little softer. So it doesn't mean that if you definitely have it, then you can be charged with DUI per se, meaning you absolutely over that limit. But the DAs can use that information and say, well, it's the same kind of level as if you were at the .08. The other type of DUI you can have in Colorado is you could have a DUI with no blood or no THC or nothing, which is what happens when you refuse a blood or a breath test. When you refuse a blood or a breath test, you still have the DUI, but usually you're going to be charged with a DUI just straight up, and you don't have that opportunity to have a possible DWAI. You're also going to have implications on the DMV side of things where you lose your license, and we'll get into that in some other videos if you want to click through and check those out. So misdemeanor world, you have DUI alcohol, DWAI alcohol, and then you have DUI with THC, that 5 nanograms. And technically, the district attorneys can also file charges for you to have a DWAI for THC if it's under the 5 nanograms. Now that is a little bit of a stronger case for us because we can combat that a little bit with research that's come out from Boston, Massachusetts, and a couple of other places. But those are what you're looking at for misdemeanor levels. Finally, what we have, in 2014, the legislation made it a felony offense for you to have a 4th DUI. Here's the trick with that, and this is where a lot of my clients get confused, so I want to lay this out for you. In the state of Colorado, if you have been charged with a DUI for the 4th time anywhere, nationwide, that is a felony offense. So what that means is, say you have, back when you're like 19 or 20, you got a DUI in Florida. And now you're in your 30s or 40s and you've had a couple other things happen here in Colorado, but you think it's only your 3rd DUI here in Colorado. If you have that DUI back in Florida, the DEAs can find that information and prove that you have a conviction if they can prove it, then that counts as another DUI. So it's not just DUIs gotten here in Colorado, it's DUIs nationwide anytime. The other issue is they include everything. They include DUIs, they include DWAIs, and some judges will even consider a deferred sentence to DUI as that necessary threshold to prove a prior driving under the influence offense, and they can use that to get you on a DUI felony offense. So the key in this is, when you're driving in Colorado, number one, don't drink and drive, obviously. Don't smoke and drive. Don't take prescribed medication that's going to mess up your brain and cause you to be impaired in some way. But if you are in that position, I wanted to lay out the different kinds of DUIs that there are and explain it. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to have any more videos specifically on certain aspects that we talked about, feel free to leave us a comment and we'll get those up for you so you can have your questions answered. Otherwise, feel free to give us a call or reach out to us online at www.rightlawgroup.com. Thanks so much. Bye.